Okay, that brings us into our house divided. And the topic is what's more impressive, Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's record for goals scored regular season in a career, or LeBron James breaking the NBA all-time scoring record. And let's start by saying I am not the best person to talk about LeBron James breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record, and you are not the best person to talk about Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's record.
Yeah.
So this is going to be super inflammatory, and we're not going to know exactly what we're talking about. But let's just do it. Let's generate some content.
Let's generate some content.
So why don't you begin with filling me in on some of the facts about LeBron James breaking the scoring record?
Okay, well, I mean, let's just look at it, right? So LeBron James breaks Kareem's scoring record, which was a record that, when set, appeared to be unbreakable, which is 38,000 all-time scoring in the NBA, which is an insane and takes like so much consistency. Like, you have to average, you know what I mean, around like 25 points per season minimum, and he obviously went above that to be able to even like sniff at that number. Like, the ability to be able to do that is insane, and there's not been a player in history that has been able to match the longevity of LeBron James, right? But let's look at it real quick. Ovechkin broke his record in 1,487 games.
One short of the games played by Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
Yes.
So LeBron broke his record. Okay, Kareem set his record at 1,560 games. LeBron broke that record in 1,410 games.
Pretty good.
That's 150 games fewer than Kareem.
Pretty good.
Not pretty good. That's also 77 games fewer than Ovechkin.
Okay, that does not seem like a fair comparison at all. But please continue with your other points, or am I allowed to rebuttal? Provide the facts on the ground for the Ovechkin.
I mean, I don't think that there is a rebuttal. 150 games faster. It took Ovechkin the same amount of time it took Gretzky. That's not that impressive. He just had a similar career.
So
LeBron has exceeded, not just been like, hey, I'm matching you, I am dominating you. And not only that, I am still, he set the record last year, so there's a whole another season of scoring. He's probably going to play next year, so that's a whole another season of scoring. Like, I don't remember what the total is at now.
That is true. Now, I'd like to say that at the very least, the longevity aspect, the fact that record is going to continue, I expect will be at the very least neutral, because Ovechkin is not retiring after this season either, as far as anyone knows. And he's a 43 goal scorer at 39. If he's able to do that at 39, he definitely has more hockey in him. So you are on paper,
but he's on his way out.
So's LeBron.
Yeah.
So
sure.
you
but
are
LeBron
on paper.
broke his last year.
You are correct about the games played aspect on paper. But let me get a little math on you. Let me get a little math on you, because LeBron James has played when scoring in the NBA is down. He has played when scoring in the NBA has been up. Am I accurate in saying that? There have been several different eras of NHL hockey that LeBron James has played under.
In NHL hockey?
Sorry, what am I talking about? There have been several different eras of NBA basketball LeBron has played under.
Sure.
Sometimes scoring has been down, sometimes scoring has been up.
You cannot use eras of a league to define a player's greatness.
I disagree.
That's the most
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
The era has so much to do with when the player is. And this is also
because
why
you don't have any tangible proof to prove that any of that matters.
I do.
No, you don't.
I'm about to tell you.
All right, let's hear it.
So this is also why people that say, and again, these are two very different players that scored in two very different ways, but this is also why Alex Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer. Notice I don't say player, but goal scorer of all time. Alex Ovechkin started his career, first of all, a year late. He should have been able to play his rookie season in a year sooner, but was unable to because there was an NHL lockout for an entire season. So he missed the first year of his career. Played from the 2004-2005 season, I believe it is, or maybe it was 05-06 to now through the 2024-2025 season. At the beginning of Alex Ovechkin's career, for a extended period of time, scoring was at its lowest in NHL history since the creation of the forward pass. You used to not be able to move the puck forward. You used to have to drop it behind you. So he started his career in an era where scoring was the lowest in the modern era of hockey. And so NHL, I don't know, I couldn't find the stat for the NBA, but in NHL, there's a stat called adjusted goals that does factor in eras. And Alex Ovechkin, had you factored in, this is when he was playing, this is what scoring was like in the league, this is how big of an impact he's had on the game, this is how insane it is that his scoring totals and his level of play was elevated to that point when he was playing. His adjusted goals per game right now is 999. Wayne Gretzky is not even second on the list in adjusted goals per era. He has 758 adjusted goals per era because he played
that's
when
a theoretical stat.
He played when
that
scoring was...
That is a theoretical stat, and that's why the NBA doesn't have it.
People were literally scoring 8 goals a game.
That doesn't make any sense.
Alex Ovechkin...
Like, to just be like, okay, if I took this player and put him here, this is what he would do. You have no idea how to measure that. My point is,
clearly both these things are very, very impressive. My point is that Alex Ovechkin had a harder path to do what he did, because just like LeBron, there's the longevity piece.
Oh my!
Just like LeBron, there's the fact that no one ever thought that this record was going to be broken. And not only did Ovechkin break it, but he broke it scoring. He broke it while playing. While playing when it was the hardest time in NHL history to score goals.
There's generations of kids that don't know what the NBA Finals are like without LeBron James.
How is that an argument? We're talking about regular season points. I'm not talking, and this is the all-time. If this is what we're arguing, I'd agree with you.
Scoring.
This is what if this is what we were arguing about, I'd agree with you. I mean, debating cordially. So if you're saying LeBron James is higher on the Mount Rushmore of basketball players than Alex Ovechkin is on the Mount Rushmore of hockey players, I'd agree with you. But this is what's more impressive: LeBron breaking the scoring title or Ovi breaking?
But that's what I'm talking about. What your argument is that he had a harder path.
100%. That's what we're debating. Then you have to look at era.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
That's a made up stat. That's a theoretical
if we're not looking at era, if we're not looking at which was harder to do. Then what are we talking about?
Somebody roast this man.
Then what are we talking about?
That's a theoretical stat. There's no way to.
This is a theoretical argument. We're talking about an NBA player versus an NHL player.
But there's no way to appropriately measure that stat.
Then what's this debate?
That it's more I mean that.
If we don't have a way to measure this, then what are we even having the conversation about? Obviously, it's not a good one-to-one. I'm saying based off the comparisons we can make. The time that Ovechkin was played, he scored more goals than Gretzky when it was harder to score goals than Gretzky.
Okay.
Based off of my understanding of when LeBron has played, he's played when scoring was down. He's played when scoring was up. Scoring has only been up in the NHL recently, kind of gradually getting there. And so my point is that LeBron had a comparable path to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whereas Ovechkin had a significantly more challenging path than Gretzky and still broke it in the same amount of time.
That's false, though. That's what I'm trying to say is that, like, LeBron had to go through fire to get to where he is today, right? Like, it's not, sure, some of the scoring went up as defensive rules changed and da-da-da, but LeBron came in with the weight of the world on his shoulders as an 18-year-old kid who did not go to college, mind you, did not go to college, came in as an 18-year-old out of high school and has dominated since he took the court.
So he was so good at basketball that he didn't have to go to college and he just was ready to play in the NBA.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Sounds like it's easier for him to do what he's doing than it would be for Ovechkin to break into a league after losing his rookie season.
That's a ridiculous argument.
But that's the argument you're making.
That's a ridiculous argument.
But that's the argument you're making.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is you cannot deem that his route was more challenging with how much
based off
LeBron
of,
had
based
to go
off
through.
Of the era adjusted stats that
That's
people
the
much
dumbest
smarter
stat
than
I've ever
me
heard.
do.
That's the dumbest stat I've ever
Based
heard.
off of the math and the calculations for
Of
how
what?
easy was scored, how many goals were scored, how easy was it, how was the state of goaltending, what were save percentages like. All of that is factored into determining how easy or difficult it is to score in an era.
How could you possibly know that just because in this time and period these people couldn't score that that's how it would be for this individual player? That's ridiculous. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's the only stat that you can use when you're having this argument.
That's the dumbest stat I've ever heard of.
But this is the dumbest conversation we've ever had.
I mean,
because that is what we are trying to debate.
It doesn't have anything to do with an era. We're talking about skill versus skill, right? And who has more of a skill and who has a more impressive accomplishment than the other one. That doesn't have anything to do with saying hey, if I took this player from 2014 and put him in 2004, he wouldn't have scored any goals. But if I put him in 2016, he scores 3 goals. That's what? What are we talking about?
Well, we're trying to talk about which was more difficult.
That's
to do.
That's like LeBron coming out and saying if Antetokounmpo played in 77, he would have scored 250 points. There's no way to measure that. You have no idea. Antetokounmpo is an insane player, right? There's an argument that he would have caught an elbow to the ribs and been out for 4 weeks.
So again, I would argue that makes it more difficult to score when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is playing versus when LeBron is playing.
But LeBron came in the league in 2004 when people like Shaq were still in the league.
Yeah, but there wasn't actual street fights on the court that was called basketball.
Okay, because it wasn't as unprofessional. That means it wasn't still physical defensively.
Again, I would like to point out
as an 18-year-old
I'd like to point out that you know basically nothing about the era of hockey that I'm talking about, and I know basically nothing about the era of NBA basketball, which makes us again very bad people to have this argument. However, based off my understanding of the eras of NBA basketball, was significantly harder to score back when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was playing, and there were just flying elbows zipping over the court, giving people grade C concussions left and right.
That's not
versus when LeBron came into the league, and that's the opposite. Well, you had the old man take last week, so now I'm not allowed to have an old man take. Versus in the NHL, scoring was way easier when Wayne Gretzky was playing, and it was much harder when Ovi was playing. To me, it's the
skill levels
opposite.
were way different. The reason why that was bad fundamental basketball.
I feel like we're going in circles.
We are going in
circles. And so we
circles.
need to shut this down.
Dude, vote in the comments. LeBron is the GOAT. Just leave it alone.
Is there anyone that watches the NBA and the NHL? Because
I don't know.
They're so tough sport. They're going on at the same time.
Yeah.
We need someone that is an expert in both to weigh in on this. Yeah. I don't even know who that is.
I don't either. I'm trying to think. Maybe Joel. I don't know if he watches the NBA anymore.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Someone tell us.
Joel, shout
or just
shout
argue
out
in
to
the
me
comments, whatever.